This is Jean Moore with More Than Sports. I am here with Coach Deral Miller, who is the head coach and founder of Fourth Quarter Pressure 7-on-7. Deral, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's just get started a little bit and talk about you. I know you really want your focus on the kids, and we'll get to that, but just give us some background on you. Where did you grow up? How did you get into football? That kind of a thing.
Well, I'm down here in Texas now, San Antonio, Texas, but I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Um, yeah, my dad was in the Marines. I was born in North Carolina, lived in Virginia, lived in Kentucky. We moved to Detroit. That's where I'm from. And how I got into football. So I've always played sports. And I used to go to the football games with a guy from my church, and they played football. It was for the West Side Steelers, and while they would play, I would be behind the bleachers, like playing with all the other kids and tackling. And I'm like, man, I want to play football. And so how I got involved with football, I started playing early at my school. You weren't supposed to play until you got to the fifth grade. Well, I started playing in the fourth grade for the fifth and sixth grade team. And so we were supposed to be staying after school, but I wound up signing up for football, and my mom didn't even know. She didn't know I started playing football until I got to the fifth grade. And so that's how I got into playing football. I started playing. I kind of went behind my parents' back at my after school programs, and I started playing football for the school that I went to.
All right. And so how did they feel when they found out?
Until she sees this, she didn't know that. She didn't know that. But I started playing in fifth grade. And so she was kind of she always knew that I was tough. I was the kid that, in Detroit it snows. So in the wintertime, I would take the wheels off of my skateboard and I would climb on top of the house and I would like slide off into the snow. And then in the summer or in the fall, when it was time to rake the leaves, I would rake the leaves and I would carry my bike up on the top of the roof of the garage, and I would ride my bike off and land into the leaves. So she always knew that I was a daredevil.
No fear.
No fear at all. And then sports, like just playing sports, kind of like ran in my family. Like my brother played, my uncles played. My dad didn't really care too much for it because he was just like real book smart. But she didn't love it because she didn't want me to get hurt, but she didn't hate it once she realized that I had a passion for the game.
I'm interested to hear what she has to say after seeing this. So why did you choose football? You said you're active in sports, so I'm assuming you played other sports as well. Why football?
So football for me, like just growing up, I was aggressive, and football you can hit people. And I wasn't really that good at basketball, but that was my brother's sport. His sport was basketball. But I played baseball and I did all sports, ran track. I ran track in college too. But for me, football was always just what I gravitated to. I was able to hit people. I was always faster than almost everybody. And so I thought I was Barry Sanders. And so people joke about it now because I have two teams. I have the Cowboys and the Lions. But I grew up watching Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith. And when I was younger, my brother used to always tell me, like, when you get to high school, you need to learn how to catch. I'm like, I don't need to learn how to catch. I'm Barry Sanders. And so I always played running back. And then once I got to high school, it kind of bit me in the butt because I couldn't catch a cold. And so I don't know, man, just football, like football chose me in a sense. And I mean, it took me around the world, literally playing. So football, I don't know.
So let's talk about that a little bit. You did go to college and play.
Correct.
In college. What college did you go to?
So originally I went to Bowling Green State University in Ohio. And then I transferred from there and I wound up going to Kentucky State, which is where I graduated from. And I went to the Division II school. So I went to Division I school my first year for a very silly reason. And then I went to the Division II school where I was able to run track and play football.
Okay.
It worked out. It all worked out.
So talk to me a little bit about that experience. I mean, it's every kid's dream most of the time to go to
Mhm.
college and play football. Um, what was that experience like once you got there?
College football is it's a business, you know. I mean, yeah, you can have fun with it, but I mean, it's you have to be dedicated. I mean, it was times that we would have night practice and we were expected to turn around and be back on the field at 5 o'clock the next morning for another practice.
Mhm.
Or on Mondays we would have Mondays off, but we had to be in film session at 4:30 in the morning to watch film from the game over the weekend. And so with that and classes and just trying to live a regular life, it was tough. It was
Mhm.
tough, but that's why it's not for everybody. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? But
Right.
it was fun. I had a lot of fun. I had some of my best years in college playing ball. So
And then after college, you ended up playing arena.
correct,
You did have tryouts with
correct,
CFL and NFL teams,
correct.
and then you ultimately played arena. What was that like? Because that's a little bit different than regular football as far as rules and
For
things like
sure,
that.
for
How was
sure.
that transition?
So I did the CFL and NFL workouts, but I went to a smaller Division II school. So I had an agent. My agent at the time wanted me to go to Germany and play in a little, it's like a GFL, like a German football league. And
Mm-hmm.
I had a daughter when I was in college, and so I was like, nah, I'm not going to go all the way, you know what I'm saying, on the other side of the world to play football. I can just play here. And so he got me a workout with the Lions. I talked to the Ravens and the 49ers. I talked to these different teams, and they all had one question like, man, like, how fast are you? How tall are you? How big are you? Because my senior year, we played at the Rams Stadium, and I met the Rams player personnel after the game, and
Mm-hmm.
he was like, you had a really good game, but he was like, how much do you weigh? About 140? I was like, wow, because he said like, being in the stands that I looked a lot bigger. And so when teams started seeing me in person, they like, man, we thought you were at least, you know what I'm saying, 6 foot, 6 foot one. I'm like, no, I'm only 5'10, 170 pounds, you know what I mean? And so I did the workouts, and then when I worked out for the Lions, the Detroit Lions, um, they were the ones that suggested that I go indoor to play indoor because they thought I was real shifty, and it was Matthew Stafford's rookie year. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, so he was at the facility when I went there. But yeah, so it was the Lions that suggested that I go indoor. And growing up, I was like, I would never play like arena football. Like I didn't like hitting the wall, yada yada yada. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I wound up going to play indoor. I signed my second semester, my senior year. I signed with the El Paso Generals down in El Paso, Texas. From there, I went to the DC Armor in Washington D.C. And then from there, that's when I moved to California. I signed with the San Jose Wolves, and so I played out in California for 3 or 4 years, and then I wound up signing with the Laredo Rattlesnakes in Laredo, Texas. And I got hurt my last year playing for Laredo, and so just waking up in pain and had a boot on my foot and my ribs were bruised, and I just was like, I'm done playing ball. I didn't want to play anymore. And then I got a call from a trainer in Atlanta, Georgia. He was a scout for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and he called me 3 different times and was like, he wanted me to come up there because my cousin was working out with him. My cousin was supposed to go it was projected to get drafted by Green Bay, yada yada yada. He had a bunch of NFL guys that he trained. Both of his sons played in the NFL,
Oh,
and so he
wow.
wanted me to come up there and train. And I was like, no, I just moved to San Antonio. I probably stayed in San Antonio for about 4 months. And then the third time that he called me, like I just prayed about it. And I was like, nobody's going to call you 3 different times to get
Mm-hmm.
this kind of opportunity. So I left. And then that's when I kind of started the whole CFL journey. I went to Atlanta. I trained in Atlanta. I
Mm-hmm.
did a workout down in Tampa, Florida that year, and I wound up going back to Atlanta. And then the scout from Hamilton actually came to Atlanta to put me through a private workout. Me and a couple other guys that they brought in, and so from I was going to get invited to camp, but I wound up going up to Vancouver and with the BC Lions, and I got up to up there and just was like, you know what, I'm done playing ball.
Yeah.
Um, I had my daughter, and I just was like, you know what, I just want to spend more time with my kids. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
I left, and then I moved to San Antonio.
Wow. So it really did take you everywhere. You
Yeah.
weren't kidding
Yeah.
when you said that.
Oh yeah, I played for Team USA. We had a game down in Mexico City in 2015 actually. We
Wow.
played down in Mexico City, and that was an amazing opportunity.
Mhm.
It was different. They cussing you out and yelling at you in Spanish, and you yelling back, and they don't understand the words you're saying. So it was fun though. I had a good ride. I had a good ride
Mhm.
playing ball.
Where would you say your favorite place was to play?
Ooh, to play. It had to be Mexico City. That was
Okay.
that was my favorite place to play.
Mhm.
It was about 13,000 fans at the
Wow.
game, and they would every time during kickoff they would yell something at us, and the whole stadium would do it. You know what I mean? And the atmosphere was just amazing, just being there. Um,
Mhm.
and then my second favorite place would have to be when we played in I want to say it was in Iowa. That atmosphere was ridiculous, but the home team, the home crowd out in California was amazing too. But
Yeah.
that Mexico and the Iowa crowd was completely different.
There's nothing like playing for the home crowd. I kind of
Right.
feel for these, especially college students right now, athletes that are
Yeah.
playing with no fans in the stands. Out here, Pac-12,
Hmm.
um, there's nobody allowed in the stands, and
Right.
so definitely a different atmosphere when you're home and you
Right.
have that support behind you. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
So, would you say Mexico City then was your best memory playing, or do you have another best memory?
No, my best memory would be in 2012. We were playing. I was playing in Stockton for the Sacramento Eagles, and we went in at halftime, and I had this Spider-Man mask that I took from my little brother when last time I went to Detroit to visit, and I was like, I'm gonna wear this one game or whatever. And so we went in at halftime. Our coach was talking to us, and I stuffed the Spider-Man mask in my pants because when we were coming back out, we were doing kick return. And I was like, I'm gonna take the kick return back, and then when I score, I'm gonna take my helmet off and put the Spider-Man mask. When I had a whole celebration like lined up in my head. I actually have a good picture of it too. um, and so the opening kick return, like I got it, and I made like three people miss, and then I scored, and I ran in the end zone. I took my helmet off, and I jumped up on the wall, like I took the mask out, jumped up on the wall, put the mask on, and I did the whole Spider-Man thing, and it was amazing because every time after that, like when we would come out of the tunnel, the kids would always ask, "Is Spider-Man going to be here today? Is Spider-Man?" And Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. So that and Superman. So that was one of my favorite memories because the kids they remember me from that. But every
Mhm.
home game, is Spider-Man going to be here today? And I'm like, nah, I got in trouble for that. I don't think Spider-Man going to be here today. But and I still have like my Spider-Man book bag that I had when I played indoor. I keep my cleats and stuff in there. So I still carry that Spider-Man book bag everywhere I go, like when I'm going for football.
So you did get in trouble for that?
What the refs, they were going to throw a flag, and I was like, my coach was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Man, I'm celebrating." Like we were playing against a team from Vegas. We won. I'm like, "What's the big deal?" You know what I mean? But it was all fun and games. It was all fun.
You're supporting your brother. I mean,
That's
come
right.
on.
There you go. I didn't understand that at the time.
So fast forward to now.
Mhm.
Like I said in the intro, you are now coaching and started fourth quarter pressure 7-on-7.
Mhm.
Talk to me a little bit about what you want to impart to the kids, and B, like what made you want to start a 7-on-7 and training these young men.
So first of all, when I first moved here, because I coached high school football when I lived in California too, and then when I moved here, one of my buddies, one of my real good friends, he had a next door neighbor whose son played football, and he was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Hey man, like you play, like maybe you can train him or whatever." So I met his parents, and I would train this kid every day when I got off of work. And then that training him led to me training like 10 other kids all at the same time. And I was like, hey, like I like this, you know what I mean? And just so ever since I've been here, I've always trained athletes. And so fast forward to now, about a year ago, I started fourth quarter pressure, but not the football team. I started fourth quarter pressure as a nonprofit organization geared towards giving back to the community. So like clothing drives and feeding the homeless and stuff like that. Like it would be times that like I would cook breakfast in the morning, and if I didn't have to go to work, I would make too much. So then I would just go downtown San Antonio and I would pass out plates of breakfast until I ran out because I had cooked so much. And so from there, that's where fourth quarter pressure came from. And for me being an athlete, it was always because I've been through a lot, like since I stopped playing ball. Um, and so from just being like just depressed and stuff like that. And so I've always felt like in the heat of battle, which is in the fourth quarter of a game, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? How and the pressure is on, how do you adjust? How do you adapt? And
Mhm.
so for me, that's where fourth quarter pressure came from because after everything that I've been through, like I'm still here. I made it out. And so what I want to give to the kids is no matter whatever your situation looks like, there's always another way. Don't give up. Because there was plenty of times that I wanted to give up and I just wanted to quit and nobody ever knew. You know what I mean? And I'll never forget, I got a phone call from my daughter that just changed my whole life. You know what I mean? And so that phone call made me to where I am. You know what I mean? And I didn't give up. And so that's what I want to give to the kids. Like my whole focus is to get these kids into school. I want them to get into college. I want them to have the same opportunities that I had. So a lot of that's why I do the training. I want to make you a better athlete. I know what the coaches are looking for. I network with a lot of college coaches, and I know a few NFL coaches, NFL players, and stuff like that. So I can network and I can tell you how to get there, but it's up to you. You know what I'm saying? When it's not looking how you want it to look, for you to do what you need to do to get to where you want to go. So
Mhm.
that's where the fourth quarter pressure came from. And then as far as the 7 on 7, 7 on 7 now is like AAU basketball, you know,
Mhm.
and kids are getting full scholarship offers, full rides off of 7 on 7. So I said, hey, what better way to help them than to train them, actually coach them. So when the
Mhm.
coaches are asking me questions about these kids, I know exactly what this kid does good, what he does bad, his
Right.
attitude, his grades, things like that. So my connection with these kids, like I'll have kids text me at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And because I hardly ever sleep, I'll respond. They're like, sorry for texting so late, coach. I'm like, it's good. I'm up. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
the whole thing is I just want to get these kids into school. You know what I mean? And give them
Mhm.
the same opportunities that I had.
That's pretty amazing. And so let's talk about that, if you don't mind. How you overcame, like you said, you had depression. Um, how did you overcome that? Like, what advice can you give to others that are in that same situation, especially now? There's not um, a lot of talk. It's gotten better over the years, but mental health awareness is such a huge conversation to have, especially among athletes, because there's so much pressure put on you.
Mhm.
And then if you're not playing, once your time is done playing the sport that you love, how do you really transition after that? So what advice do you have to others to really help get out of that depression and the struggles that you faced?
So for me, and I guess I'm a little different because it's just 3 words that I live by. It's figure it out. Um,
Hmm.
and I tell my son that all the time. If he's like, oh, obviously I'm gonna help him out if he needs help. But
Hmm.
when he has something that he can't figure out, I'm like, you need to figure it out. And so my advice to people would be, no matter how it looks, you know what I mean? Like, don't quit, don't give up. Man, you got to figure it out. And I tell my son all the time, he's 10. I tell him all the time, like, I'm not gonna be here forever. You need to learn how to do certain things on your own. Now, if you just can't do it, I'm gonna show you how to do it. But in
Hmm.
the meantime, you got to figure it out. And I got that attitude and that mentality from my dad when I was my son's age. I remember my dad. So my mom and my dad split up when I was younger, and so we would like alternate, like going to see my dad on the weekends and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
so my mom like just babied us, like you know what I mean. And so I'm like, I never have to do anything. My mom does everything for me, right? And so I went over to my dad's house, and he was like, "Hey, iron y'all clothes so we can get ready to go." And I looked at my brother. I'm like, I'm not ironing my clothes. I'm like, my mom irons my clothes. So he was like, my dad came back in the room, like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know how to iron. He was like, well, I'm gonna show you how. And I was like, okay. So he walked out of the room and I told my brother, I'll give you my whole allowance if you iron my clothes. My brother was like, ooh, I'm telling. And my dad came back in there and he got on to me. And I was like, I'm crying. What are you crying for? Because I'm like, I don't know how to iron. He like, you need to figure it out and learn how to iron. Your mama's not gonna be taking care of you for the rest of your life. And at that moment, like it clicked, you know what I'm saying? And I just figured things out. You know what I mean? No, I don't expect people to just do everything for me. I'm gonna always find a way, even when the pressure is on, right? And
Right.
so my advice to people would be just, man, don't give up no matter how bad it looks, because there's always a way. There's always a way. You just gotta figure it out. You gotta be patient. And I mean, the biggest thing is pray, you know, and listen to God. And if you don't believe in God, whoever you believe in, just you gotta figure it out and be patient.
Yeah, that's good advice. It's that patience thing, I think, sometimes that gets people.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
We live in a I want it and I want it now
Right.
society, and that's not the way it works most
Right.
of the time. So I interviewed one of your kids that you train,
Mm-hmm.
Ricky Gonzalez, and one of the questions I asked him was, who is your mentors? And so you were probably his biggest mentor, that he mentioned. What does that mean to you to know that you're having that kind of an impact on these kids?
For me, man, it's a blessing, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna say that I didn't have mentors. But for a kid to say I have messages like, man, I pursued this because of our conversation, or I did this because like I met you, or I was glad I was able to meet you and stuff like that. Like it's 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 an honor. I feel like God blesses us to be a blessing to others. And so I say it all the time. When people are like, "Oh man, I can't believe you did it," my response is, "Hey, I'm just trying to do my part." You know what I mean? I'm here for a reason. God kept me here for a reason. Um, when I was in the fire academy, I went to California to visit one of my buddies, and on my way back to the airport, I was in the car and we got into an accident on a San Mateo bridge. And it was 5 o'clock in the morning. My flight left at like 6:30, and we spun around, and the car kind of like went up and almost fell off the bridge. And 5 o'clock in the morning, it's pitch black outside. Nobody would have ever knew that we were even there. And and I feel like God saved me that day from all the oncoming traffic, the 18 wheelers and all of that. He saved me because I'm here for a purpose. You know what I mean? And so it's an honor to be able to leave an impact on people in a positive way, especially at a time like right now where there's so much negativity going on in the world. I'm so glad the election is over. With so much negativity going on and so many people just not believing in anything anymore. It's an honor to be some type of light in the hope for a hopeless people right now.
Well, and it's true, these kids need somebody like you in their life. And, it's, I get some of that, kids will ask me for advice or things like that. And I feel like kind of the same, that's what I'm here for. And I'm not just somebody that's doing interviews. I want to be here for these kids.
Right.
And, I care about them. And so, it's amazing to be able to know that you have that impact. And so, I think that's awesome. It's great that these kids recognize that
Mm-hmm.
and know that they can count on you. And
Okay.
I think that's just a testament to your character for sure. Um, so let's kind of talk about that. You kind of alluded to it, but you are a firefighter as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of your normal job, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I don't look at that as my job, but yeah,
Yes, because you love it.
I love
So, where does that desire to help others in all aspects of your life come from? Where does that come from?
I think I got that from my mom. My mom is a big helper. My mom thinks she can help everybody. Um, and for me, it's the same thing. Like I feel like I can help everybody I see. I want to help. I want to leave an impact. I want to be, you know what I mean? And so for me, the desire just to help people is it just burns within me. And I like I said, I got that from my mom. Even when people now that I'm a little older, when people do me wrong, I'm like, yeah, I cut you off. But for the most part, though, it's just I just love helping people. Like I get joy when I see other people happy. Like
Mm-hmm.
every second Wednesday of the month, I do a thing where the first 5 people send me their Cash App. I send them money to go to Starbucks. Um, so I do that every month, every second Wednesday of the month. Um, and for that Wednesday is Hump Day, right? You're ready for the week to be over, yada yada. But if I can make 5 people smile by sending them some money to go to Starbucks to get a coffee or to get whatever that they want, like I feel like I did my job, like in a
Mm-hmm.
sense, you know what I mean? Because I just love helping people, and so that translates that what I'm saying over to being a firefighter.
Mm-hmm.
People don't call us when they're having a good day; they call
Right.
us for them. It's the worst day of their lives. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you get some calls, and you'll be like, you'll think to yourself like you really called us over here for this, but in reality, it's like yes, they did call you over here for this. Like now help them feel better, help them figure it out. You know what I'm saying, in a sense. And so then you
Mm-hmm.
do what you can do. You know what I'm saying. Sometimes we'll be on scene and you might throw a joke in and the patient will laugh. Like it's like okay, so you can smile. You know what I mean? And they're like, I'm having a bad day, but thank you so much. Blah blah blah. And then people will write letters and come to the station, and people bring us food and stuff all the time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because we made their day. Like
Right.
you made my day. This was the worst day of my life. You know what I mean? So I just love helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's great.
I feel like that's my purpose on this earth is to help people. So
And is that what got you into firefighting to begin with? What was the draw with firefighting?
the movie Backdraft. When I so I when I was younger, we were watching Backdraft, and I never forget it was me, my mom, and my brother. We were in the living room, and I was like, "Oh, look like being a firefighter was cool," even though the guy died in Backdraft. Um, and I never forget, my mom told me, she's like, "You can't be like you'll never be a firefighter." I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "Because I'm not letting you." I'm like, "What do you mean you're not gonna let me be a firefighter? Like, why not?" And so, just growing up, it was always you couldn't be a firefighter. And so
Mm-hmm.
I went to school. I got my degree in criminal justice because I wanted to go to the FBI. But I wound up going after football. And so then when I got down here and I met a bunch of the firefighter guys, used to hang out with them. I took my son up to the station when he was younger, and I'm like, and I just seen the brotherhood that these guys had. Like they would cook breakfast together, all eat breakfast together, eat lunch together, eat dinner together, and it was just a big family. The guys hang out outside of work and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, this is where I want to be. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
exactly where I want to be. And I know I didn't want to go back to Detroit. I didn't want to move back home. Um, and so I embraced being in my new city, and I took the test. There was about 4,000 people that took the test that year, and they took 96 of us. Um,
Wow.
so I made it in out of 4,000 people. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so
That's
I,
pretty good.
I like my odds.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of know then that it's kind of something that you're supposed to be doing
Oh yeah, for sure, for
with
sure.
those odds. So, starting out with the 7-on-7, what's one thing that you want these kids to know about you that they don't know?
That they don't know about me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, well, if they don't know, they better learn quick. I'm gonna push you. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna baby you. I'm not gonna hold your hand. I expect you to come ready to work because we are going to be playing on some big stages. I haven't announced the schedule yet, but I mean, we have Vegas, we have Dallas, we have New Orleans, we have LA, we have Tampa, um, just to name a few. You know what I mean? And at the Vegas Pylon tournament, I mean, there's 300 plus teams there.
Right.
For the national championship tournament, there's 200 plus teams there. There's all kind of teams, you know what I mean, which is going to be a lot of 5-star, 4-star athletes, guys that already have full ride offers to USC, UCLA, and I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
Michigan and schools like that. So I want them to bring their game. You have to bring your game. So I'm gonna push you. And one of my other coaches, DeAnthony Rimmer, he's one of my real good buddies. That's my defensive coordinator. He's gonna push these kids. and he's an excellent trainer here in San Antonio. He has his own training called Rim Fit, and he trains here out of Davies Gym over there off of Broadway and 410. But he is an amazing trainer, an amazing coach, and we're going to push these kids. We just got another coach on our coaching staff, Coach Blank. He's going to be working with the quarterbacks. He's another amazing coach. His son actually plays quarterback too. So we're going to push these kids to levels that they didn't even know that they had. And of course, we're going to break you down, but we're going to build you back up. And it all has a purpose behind it. Because when you get to college, these coaches aren't going to baby you. And if you don't like what they're telling you to do, and if you don't like how you're training, and if you don't like, then they'll tell you don't play. I'll go get somebody else. But we're not going to push the kids away like that because we're trying to get them prepared for college. That's the whole purpose of the 707. We want to get these kids prepared. But what they need to know about me is I'm gonna push you. I bring my cleats to every little workout, and I if they think I'm too old to get out there and still play, I'll lace the cleats up and I'll show them what I can do. But
prove them wrong.
Prove them wrong.
And now your 10-year-old son plays.
Yes.
Actually saw a nice little video on some of his games. What advice do you give him? Like, how do you train him, and how does he respond to that with you being his dad?
So the biggest thing is I train him now with Ricky Gonzalez, who was on your show about a week or two ago. He loves Ricky. Ricky is like, we're gonna see Ricky. Are we gonna talk to Ricky? He loves
He's
Ricky.
A great kid.
Yeah, like he got his braids out because Ricky got his hair all curly in a fro. Now his hair is curly in a fro. But so I train him with high school kids. I don't treat him like he's 10. You know what I mean? So when I train him, like this past summer when I was training him, it was some days he hated me. He cried. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to play football. And so and I told him, I said, you have to play football because you got to be able to I said, you have to work out because you have to be able to carry that new backpack that I bought you. He's like, what backpack? I'm like, don't worry about it. Just keep running. You know what I mean? But I train him as if I was training myself. So I train him when he's running hills, he's doing ladders, he's doing cone drills, and I don't talk to him like he's 10. I talk to him like a college coach would talk to him. You know what I mean? Obviously, I don't cuss at him, you know what I'm saying? But I will yell at him, but it's more motivational than it is degrading. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because if once he gets older and he sees like, man, my dad used to yell at me, so a coach yelling at me doesn't bother me. That's just motivation for me. You know what I mean? But so for him, I train him as if I'm training myself, as if I'm training any of my other high school kids. You know what I mean? So when he's doing his running and his conditioning and stuff like that, he's keeping up with the 8th graders and the 7th graders and the 9th graders because he's gotten a lot faster. You know what I'm saying? He did a lot of speed work. And then this next year, the spring, we're doing 7-on-7. He's going to run track. I'm not going to let him play spring football because that's his training period. So we started training today. His season just ended Sunday, but we started training today. And so we'll train now up until track. We'll train during track season. And then once we start back conditioning with the team next year in the fall, he'll be already done trained for the last 10 months. So he'll be more prepared than anybody on his team.
Yeah.
And moving forward, as he gets older, I want to take him to different camps, college camps, to get him recognition because he'll be in 6th grade next year. So as a 6th grader, colleges will know who he is. And then when he gets to 7th grade and 8th grade and so on, they'll remember this kid from coming from season 6th grade, and they'll see the drastic improvement, that he makes. And so I ask him 2 questions every time before we work out, during workout, and during games. I'm like, and so I say, do you want to be good or do you want to be great? And he says, you want to be great. I'm like, then you got to work. And I was like, you're the best. He'll say, yes, sir. And I say, do you know why you're the best? And his response is, because nobody works like me. And he's going to keep that attitude and he's going to outwork his competition. So when it is his turn and he gets to high school, that it should be it'll be amazing. You know what I'm saying? If you watch his film from last year compared to the film that I just put on YouTube yesterday, it is like a completely different kid. I mean, my son loves reading the Bible. He loves listening to music. It's times we're in the car and gospel music. It's times we're in the car. Like I have to turn my music down because I'm like, you know what I mean? And he'll put his headphones and listen to gospel music. Because then I'll put on gospel music. Like He just kind of put,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? But he'll talk junk on the field, and then he'll help a kid up. Like, hey, here you
Mhm.
go. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Like, don't help him up. And he'll look at me like, but I knocked him down. I'm like, yeah, let him get up on his own. You know what I mean? But he's that kid. You know what I'm saying? But I push him. I push him until he's like, I want to quit. And then
Mhm.
plays in the games, I'm like, this is why I couldn't let you quit. And he'll just,
Mhm.
thank you, Dad. Thank you so much for not letting me quit. Like, thank you. And I'm like, you don't have to worry about it. I'm not gonna ever let you quit. Because if I let you
Mhm.
quit now, when training is hard, you'll quit when you get older, when life
Mhm.
gets hard. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm not gonna let you quit. So
Mhm. Well, and he's got that natural talent, and so I think he'll definitely go
I hope
far.
so.
What's his name? So give him a little shout out.
Hey, my son's name is Jeremiah Miller. He wears number
Okay, watch out
22.
for him.
Oh yeah, watch out. He's on YouTube. Jeremiah Miller. Hashtag the number 23. He's on YouTube if you can check it out.
So, last question, and you've kind of alluded to this, so this might be kind of repetitive, but what is your ultimate goal? Like when you thought about doing fourth quarter pressure,
Mhm.
both your training, your nonprofit, and your 7-on-7, what's your ultimate goal?
My ultimate goal is to change lives. That's it. I mean, it's that simple. I just want to, like I said, I want to leave an impact on everybody I meet, and change lives. Whether that be putting a smile on people's face, getting these kids into college, training these kids a whole lot better. You know what I mean? I don't go around as if I know everything. So anybody who knows me can tell you, I'm constantly watching film. I'm constantly talking to different coaches. I'm constantly perfecting my craft. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So when I get to these kids, it's like, okay, he knows what he's talking about. I'm like, yeah, because I've been up all night. Like the other day, we had a game in Dallas, and I got back from Dallas at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and um, got up. I stayed up to about 5:30 because I couldn't sleep. I'm watching film, even though we had just had a game,
Wow.
because I knew we had training at 9 o'clock. And so I watched film and stuff till about 5:30 in the morning and went to sleep. My alarm went off at 6:45. I got up, fed the dog, let the dog outside. I had some running around to do. I had to go to Lowe's, stuff like that. And then I was at the field by 8:30, ready to go. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And so when the kids came out there and they were kind of like dragging a little bit, I'm like, hey, I don't want to hear it. I'm like, I'm working off of an hour and a half of sleep, and I'm out here, you know what I mean? But I do this because I love them. You know what I'm saying? I love what I do. I love helping people. And
Mhm.
so my ultimate goal is to just change lives, get these kids into school, and break generational curses for these kids.
Mhm. That's huge. That's huge. Because sports is a way to do that.
For
I
sure.
mean, it's, uh, I talk about kind of the world we live in right now and COVID and how, for me, it's sad to see these high school kids not getting the exposure that they need,
Right.
ones that don't have offers or whatever. And I know to some that sounds so like insignificant, but for them, it's a way out.
Yeah.
Like you said, it can break generational curses of poverty, of, different mindsets. And so, these kids need that exposure and they need, um, some just need that way out to better their lives and the lives of their families.
For sure.
So that's amazing that that's part of your focus. Because it's just what these kids need. So I commend you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
You have an amazing program, and I hopefully I'll get out to some tournaments and be able to watch your kids play, and
For sure.
it would be pretty amazing. So thank you again,
You're welcome.
Darrell, for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Um, it
Well,
was a
thank you
pleasure
for having me.
here.
I gotta get you a shirt. I need my shirt back there on that
You
wall.
do need your shirt back there. Yes, you
I
do.
gotta get you a shirt. So I'll send you a shirt. I
I'll give
promise.
you my
I
address
promise.
when
I got you.
we're done. All right. Thank you so much. Again, this is Jean Amore with More Than Sports. Thanks for watching.